Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Thursday, June 6th. Before we get into today's interesting tropical scenario, let me first mention that today is the 69th anniversary of the D-Day invasion in Normandy, France, 1944. We posted a blog on the weather website about the very interesting story behind the weather forecast behind that historical event. So if you have any time later on today, it might be worth your while to read that on our weather website. Well, let's take a look at the tropical storm Andrea. Late last week we talked about the potential for some tropical troubles this week in the Gulf of Mexico, and indeed that has come to reality. We now have the season's first tropical storm. It's named Andrea. It's got sustained winds at the last reading of 60 miles per hour with gusts up to 70 miles per hour. Not that far under hurricane status, and the central pressure has dropped quite rapidly down to 29.43 inches. It is starting to make a move to the north and east. Indeed, it will ride up the east coast over the next 24 to 36 hours or so, bringing heavy rainfall to the I-95 big cities on Friday and Friday night, perhaps on the order of 1 to 3 inches, and some gale force type winds along the coastline during the day Friday and especially Friday night. It pulls rapidly into the just south and east of the New England coastline on Saturday morning. Basically, the track looks like it'll run from eastern North Carolina tomorrow afternoon to just off the South Jersey coastline by about midnight or so tomorrow night, and then near Cape Cod by Saturday morning. Well, here's a broader view of Tropical Storm Andrea using a colorized infrared satellite loop from the Penn State EWOL site. Here it is right here, intensifying over the last few frames with some heavy rainfall headed towards the west coast of Florida. Another thing to point out here, notice this area of clouds showing up here on the infrared satellite loop in the Ohio Valley. And that, we talked about that yesterday, is part of a key player of a strong upper level low in the middle part of the country that is headed towards the east coast, and that plays a vital role in allowing this moisture to ride right up the east coast, and we'll get into that over the next few minutes with some computer forecast models. But again, a strong upper level trough over the middle part of the country now moving into the Ohio Valley plays a key role in allowing this moisture to ride right up the coast over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Well, here's the latest radar loop from the Penn State EWOL site for the southeast quadrant. Notice this real impressive circulation here right around the circulation center here in the last couple of frames. This thing is really wrapping up. Would not be out of the question that it reaches hurricane status before making landfall. Heavy rain throughout the state of Florida on the order of 6 inches or more over the next 6 to 12 hours or so. All of this boatload of moisture will ride right up the east coast, sending heavy rainfall up and down the east coast over the next 24 to 36 hours. Well, let's now take a look at some computer forecast models for this next 48 hours or so. We'll look at the NAM forecast map, the GFS forecast maps, and we'll take a look at the Canadian model. First, let's start off with the current 500 millibar map, because again, this is a main player here. Just want to point this out. Here is a very impressive trough in the middle part of the country headed towards the east coast. Those winds are basically southwest to northeast right now across the mid-Atlantic region. Here's a reflection of that tropical storm Andrea in the eastern part of the Gulf of Mexico. But over the next 12 to 24 hours or so, this trough continues towards the east coast and continues to deepen, and that allows for more of a southerly flow right along the east coast, which allows this moisture to ride right up the east coast. In fact, here's the forecast map for tomorrow evening. Notice here that trough a little farther to the east, and now basically south to north winds right along the east coast, allowing that moisture to ride right up the coast over the next 12, 24, 36 hours or so. Again, the heaviest rainfall for the I-95 big cities looks like it'll be Friday night, but there will be preceding rainfall this afternoon and tonight, and even some of that non-tropical rainfall can come down hard at times. Well, let's walk through a few of these computer forecast models. This is the NAM from last night's 0Z model run for tomorrow morning. The tropical moisture down here, a little bit of a reflection of a low here in the southern part of Georgia, and again some decent rainfall here with this non-tropical moisture associated with that west to east moving upper level trough here in the Middle Atlantic region and northeastern part of the country. That is this afternoon and tonight. By tomorrow morning, here is the beginnings of that tropical storm as it starts to ride up the east coast. Let's now jump ahead to tomorrow evening. By tomorrow evening, the NEM kind of has a broad area of low pressure here, but the heaviest rain right along the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City in the late afternoon, early evening hours on Friday as that tropical moisture rides up the east coast. Let's now take a look at Saturday morning. And here's the forecast map from the NAM model run for Saturday morning. Heavy precipitation in the form of rain moving up into the New England area, starting to pull out of the Mid-Atlantic region. There certainly can be some residual morning showers, but much of Saturday can actually turn out to be rain-free after Andrea passes to the north and east and kind of accelerates on Saturday off the New England coastline as it continues to move to the north and east. By this time, there could be 1 to 3 inches of rainfall accumulated from the tropical moisture, and on top of the preceding moisture that we'll get this afternoon and tonight in the Mid-Atlantic region. Well, let's now take a look at the GFS forecast map for tomorrow morning. This time it has the tropical low over the Carolinas, and again, this is not a bad track here. I believe it'll run from basically the eastern part of North Carolina tomorrow afternoon, just off the South Jersey coast tomorrow evening, about midnight or so, late evening, and then just near Cape Cod by Saturday morning. Saturday morning in this time frame, in this location, midnight tomorrow night, and this is tomorrow afternoon right in this region right here. Heavy rain up and down the east coast during the day tomorrow, as now projected by the GFS model. Earlier in the week it had pretty much shoved all of this tropical moisture well off the east coast, but now it's hugging the coast, similar to some of the other models. Here's the GFS forecast map for tomorrow evening, perhaps a little bit to the east here of what I might expect to occur in terms of the heaviest of rainfall. Probably backs a little bit farther to the west here, similar to some of the other models, but still a boatload of moisture moving right up the east coast here by all models pretty much now, and this is tomorrow night headed through the Mid-Atlantic region into New England. Let's now jump ahead to Saturday morning. And by Saturday morning, GFS model actually has that storm kind of accelerating, moving quickly through New England. And again, Saturday is very likely to turn out in the Mid-Atlantic region to be mainly rain-free after potential residual morning showers. Well, one more computer model forecast. This is from the Canadian model run of 0Z last night, and this has been fairly consistent with quite a healthy rainfall for the Mid-Atlantic region from this tropical system. This is the forecast for about midnight tomorrow night. Low pressure right over the Delmarva Peninsula with heavy rain basically up and down the I-95 corridor from D.C. to Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York City on its way to the north and east. So pretty much all models now favor the scenario of this eastern Gulf of Mexico tropical system riding right up the east coast over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Stay tuned to the SIWeather.com for any updates later today. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.